It's easy to assume that some medical conditions are hopeless with no chance of recovery. So when the hand of factory worker Victor Atiku was completely chopped off by a sawmill he was working on, it would not have been far-fetched to conclude that such a hopeless situation had arisen. Victor was, however, rushed to the hospital where after an 8-hour surgery his hand was reattached. Doctors are calling this a rare occurrence. Daniel Dadzi visited the Korle-Bu teaching hospital where the surgery took place and reports.
I'm sure you're familiar with the ladies' accessory called the handbag. A handbag was used in this very premises a few weeks ago, but I'm not speaking about something to keep your lipstick or your accessories in. I'm speaking of a plastic bag which carried a human hand, literally. A factory worker here in Accra had his hand severed off by a sawmill, and he came to the hospital, to the Korle-Bu teaching hospital where we are now, after he had visited the Lekma hospital and the 37 military hospital, carrying his hand wrapped in a plastic bag, and the hand, of course, lying in ice. Thankfully, he left the hospital a few weeks later after a successful surgery with his hand fully attached. Of course, this is not a miraculous story that you hear from a pulpit, but this is something that happened right here in the Korle-Bu teaching hospital. And today we've visited Dr. Kwame Dako, who is a member of the medical team that carried out this surgery. Dr. Dako, I believe congratulations are in order.
Thank you very much, but it's all in a day's work.
As much as possible, help us understand how you went about it.
Okay, so basically for these cases, what we are looking at is repairing the bone. The bone must be fixed, and we need the help of the orthopedic surgeons to do that in some cases. Once that is done, we need to repair the tendons. The tendons are what are going to allow the dexterity of the fingers, the movements back and forth. We also need to repair the nerves for sensation, and we also need to repair the blood vessels for blood supply before we come to stitching muscles and skin. So each of these must be done in a particular way. Each of these must be prepared in a particular way, because once they are injured and damaged, we don't just start stitching them back together. We need to prepare the ends, particularly with the blood vessels, because if the blood vessels are not prepared properly and stitched properly, they will form a clot and you get no blood flow. So I think in a nutshell, that's basically how we do it and what we do.
You made it sound very simple. Just put the bones together, put the tendons together, and then the muscles follow. But this is a process that took 8 hours. The concentration, the teamwork, how was that like?
I think over the years we've been doing similar cases, but like I said, not of this extent. And so when it comes, we know what to do and we're ready for it. Many of us, in fact all of us, have had some form of extra training in different facilities all over the world, where some people do this more often than many other places. So with that extra training that we've all had, it makes us understand and know that even in the most specialized of centers in the world, this is exactly how it's done. And then we follow that to the book right here in Ghana, and we did it exactly as it would have been done anywhere in the world, because we've done it before, and we continue to do it in that way.
If we want to see cases like this being dealt with expeditiously, with this kind of success rate on a regular basis, what would we require, in your perspective?
In my perspective, it boils down to the ambulance system, because irrespective of the number of health personnel at any particular facility, be how remote, once they make the assessment and diagnosis and recommendation that this must go here for this kind of treatment, some form of transport mechanism must kick in to send the person to the right place. It's all nice to be in Accra where you can sit in the back of a taxi and blow your horn and move through and people actually move out of the way. But then when you're slightly out of Accra, out in the hinterlands, then the transport system becomes extremely problematic. So that is a transport system that's key. And then communication between the facilities. If this does happen anywhere, be it in your house, in a factory, by the roadside, you may not know what is salvage, what we can salvage and what we cannot salvage, but you must transport it to us in the appropriate way, which is basically picking up the extremity, the digit or the hand or whatever it may be, wrap it in a bag or handbag as you were putting earlier, and place this bag on ice or in ice. You do not put the ice or water directly on the severed extremity. You destroy some cells and they will not be able to repair it. So once you do that, all would be well.
Tell us about this patient. When you got to meet him after the surgery, how was that relation like?
So basically, this is a young man who's starting out life, an apprentice or a hand at the sawmill, and he's trying to make some money, not to stay there for the rest of his life, but to move on and start his own little business. So for him to have his hand back, now he's going through the physiotherapy protocols, having regular exercise to relearn how to move those hands, make sure they don't get stiff, so that one day he may be back to doing whatever he may want to do. I mean, in many cases where you have good physiotherapy and regular physiotherapy, he may get up to 80-90% of his function back. People come to us with different requests. We tend to remind them that we are not magicians. We are not God. We can't recreate what is there. So it's not possible for us for him to get 100% of his function, of his strength and function back. But he will get a good amount of workable function, which he can carry about his daily chores and even do some tedious work with it once his physiotherapy regime is over.
Would you advise he goes back to working in a factory?
If he follows the appropriate factory safety precautions and guidelines, he could go back.
So for the hand would be able to work well in any setting at all?
Yes, once he goes through once we've done the surgery and he goes through the physiotherapy, there is no reason why he can't go back. But I just advise that he follows the appropriate precautions and factory guidelines to prevent accidents.
And how long do you think it will take before he can get back to normal?
Normal for me would mean that he would be able to carry out his regular daily functions, eat with his hand, take care of himself, wear his own clothes, ironing. So within 3 to 4 months, if he follows a physiotherapy protocol, he should be. If he continues with doing his physiotherapy beyond that, then maybe after about 6 to 9 months, he'll be back at work.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwame Dakun.
Thank you for your time here.
So you may think of him as a miracle worker, but he really is the acting medical director here at the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center at the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital.
Congratulations to the doctor and his team.